last week they were completely rammed. They were filled up to the gunnels, they were queuing down the street. They said, you should have been here last week. I swear, you should have been here last week. Oh yeah, you should have been here last week.
Hello and welcome to the brand new episode of You Should Have Been Here Last Week, the podcast about the world of comedy, presented by myself, Steve Gribbin, and my fellow comedian, Mr. Paul Ricketts.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, how are you doing? This is the podcast that likes to peek behind the comedy curtains and give you the insight into the world of comedy, interviewing some of the people involved in it, whether it be promoters, comedians, agents, audience members. We haven't really done an audience member yet, but maybe we will. That'd be quite good, wouldn't it? Just randomly get an audience member.
Yeah. So how do you think it went, audience member? Well, I quite enjoyed it.
We should actually say, I think you're a good audience member. You could do better. So basically, You Should Have Been Here Last Week is the podcast about the comedy industry, but not just for the comedy industry. It's for anybody, just to give you a little bit of insight into what goes on in this world we call showbiz. And this week we are talking about, we've dealt with anti-hecklers themselves, but this week we're concentrating on the other side of that. So we're going to be talking about put downs, basically, which is in the armoury of all comics, I suppose. But then we'll also talk about the fact that there's a new way of thinking that doesn't deal with put downs at all. I mean, in the older days, before sort of alternative comedy came on, there was a kind of an accepted pool of things you could use. We were talking about them. I remember my first drink. What's another one?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry, I don't speak drunk. If someone shouts stuff at you.
Never drink on an empty head. That's quite a good one, actually.
Oh, where did you learn to whisper in a helicopter?
In a helicopter, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've actually got a list here of loads of. I wrote them down. This was about 15 years ago. Of some of them I've used. Keep your mouth open. I'll have a piss in it in a minute.
Oh,
that tended to make things worse, actually. This is a good one that I once said. I don't know who I heard doing this, but it's a female comic. But I'd like to fuck you stupid, but it looks like someone's beat me to it. Oh yeah, and I can't say who did this, but it was a well-known sort of like gravel voice Cockney. Listen, mate, when people call you a cunt, do you get a sense of deja vu?
that's not a bad one.
That's quite a good one, actually, isn't it? Yeah. These were kind of around in the in the 80s and 90s. They're kind of different from the old school ones. I love the way you approach every problem with an open mouth. What is this? A heckling workshop?
Yeah. Okay.
When things weren't going well. And then I heard an American comic say this, again I can't remember. Thank God you're here tonight. All my life I've been looking for a blueprint for an idiot. Which is quite a good one. Have you got any yourself?
Well, there's always like the ones about, it's so embarrassing when someone builds a comedy club around you. That old one. You're not at home in front of the TV. We can see and hear you.
Yeah.
There's that one. I did one. I came up with my own, which was so harsh. The first time I did it was the last time I did it. It made things worse. I said to this person, suck me cock and taste your mum.
Oh, God. Yeah. I know.
And that was way too harsh.
Yes,
and plus, it turned out I realised that if you don't, it's no point learning these things and using them if it's not part of your personality to sort of do that sort of thing.
That's the interesting thing. It's like you have to have the comic persona that is kind of above the audience. Otherwise, if you're going to be more of a friendly comic. It's not. It's sort of out the blue. You went round for somebody's house for a cup of coffee. And you just go, "Hey, are you fucking ugly twat?"
Whereas some people, you realise if they gave you a cup of tea like that, you go, "Yeah, that sounds like you." Yeah.
I kind of expected that from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting about that because we could talk about. I mean, let's get a bit deep, isn't it? But the whole thing about heckling put downs is that it relies on the fact that it's an adversarial relationship. But it doesn't necessarily have to be like that, does it? You know.
No, I mean, I was told, and I might as well name because I can't be asked anymore, by Don Ward. I did a short spot.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What I want you to be is I want you to be more aggressive on stage." And I said, "Look, you know, like who?" He goes, "Like the person who's on stage now." And he pointed to Paul Chowdhury. And I said, "I want you to be more like him." And I said, "Well, I'm not like him, though, am I?" I mean, and he goes, "No, but next time you perform, be more like him." So next time I did a short spot, I was, as soon as anyone said anything in the audience, I was right on them. Straight on him with a heckle put down, and it just turned the whole audience into a game of whack-a-mole where it was just heckles were coming left, right and centre, and I was trying to slap them down. And it was horrible. It was and when I got the feedback from John, he goes, "What the hell were you doing out there?" I said, "Well, I was doing what you asked me to do, which was to be, you know, a bit more aggressive on stage." I said aggressive, not stink the room out.
I mean, people. Yeah. I mean, in the moment, you sometimes do say things that you regret, as it were. I mean, I did it's quite a famous gig in my mind, but when I nearly got killed in Glasgow at the Glee Club in the early 2000s, at the height of the Iraq War, when there was I was doing stuff about the Gulf War. And there was an American guy in the audience, and it was going down great with a certain section of the audience, but there was another section that was just going, "Sack it off, all boys," you know, all the rest of it. And there's an American in the audience, and he goes, "You, sir, have no respect for the dead." And quick as a flash, right? I know it was that bad. It was getting that bad, and I thought it was a very witty reply. And I said, "And you've got no respect for the living." Big cheer from the people that supported me, but fucking hell, I had to get off and go out the back, and then when I was barricaded in the room because they were going to kill me, I said to the bouncer, "Is there a way out?" He went, "No." He said, "You've got to come out the front. You'll have to go out the front. There's no way out." And I do regret saying, I mean, I thought it would just be in the moment, but it actually was just like a big bucket of oil that just made it a lot worse. You know, so you've got to be. I mean, you got to be careful, haven't you?
Well, I just think if it isn't you to do heckle put downs, don't do them, and don't let anyone tell you to do them, and don't be forced into doing it, and don't think that's the way that you have to deal with hecklers. You deal with hecklers the way you deal with people who are a bit arsey in your life, entertainingly, obviously. But, I mean, I stopped from that point when I did that gig at the Comedy Store. I never really did heckle put downs ever again after that because it's just not me. And you find other ways to do it. I mean, the easy one, of course, is just get them to repeat it, to buy yourself more time, to come up with an answer.
Well, let's get on to the fact that there's a new breed of comedians that take it as a kind of badge of honour not to do put down things in that sense, but to engage directly with the audience. You know, and we all know where it ends up in clips for banter, etc. But their way of doing it is just to let things flow and let things happen, isn't it?
Yeah, which I probably would agree with more.
Yeah.
I'm probably more into that way of dealing with it rather than the put down, especially the generic put down.
Yeah, it's interesting about that because a long time ago, John Hegley said to me, going back to your point about being aggressive with hecklers, he said if you, and he was one of the best people at dealing with it because he was never aggressive back. He said if they shout something which is fairly aggressive, but then you go more aggressive, it's only going to escalate, and then it's going to end up creating a bad feeling in the room, and it will,
Yeah,
and he's right. He's right.
Before you realise it, they're having peace meetings without you being invited.
Oh, topical. Mind you, if this goes out in a few weeks, it might not be topical because the war might be over and Zelensky might have been shot, mightn't he? But there we go.
Yeah, but who by?
Yeah, you don't know. John Heckle, for those of you who don't know, used to... he was a poet, but he was a very good comedian as well. But he used to do lots of stuff about having short sight and wearing glasses. And it was at the Albany Empire in Deptford, and there were two people down the front. And I said, he did about 4 poems about needing glasses, and these two people went, "Oi, oi," and they just sat in the front row and they just lifted 2 white sticks, and they said, "Oh mate, we're blind, we're excluded." I mean, the whole audience just went, and Hegley, he dealt with it pretty well, but I thought you can't really answer that, can you? 2 white sticks.
Well, I have heard, in fact, it might even be me who said it, saying, well, why are you sitting at the front if you can't see, you greedy bastards?
I mean, I once saw Mark. This is again like if you heckle, we talked about this last week with the Peter Kay thing. If you heckle, you've got to expect to get some comeback, haven't you? Up the creek, there was a guy in a wheelchair, and he was heckling Mark Steele, and he was the guy in the wheelchair was an absolute wanker, fuck off, you shit, you a fucking killer, and Mark Steele just like pummeled him, just fucking beat him, and at the end, 2 of the guy in the wheelchair's mates came up to Ratus and goes, "Oh God, we're so glad you did that. He's a bit of a cunt. He's been had that coming for years." He said, just because he's in a wheelchair, it doesn't mean that he can't still be a fucking absolute twat, does it?
Yeah, I know.
Heckling. The context of how famous somebody is changes as well. How the heckle goes down. So the bigger you are, the more you can get away with stuff that if you said at a lower level of gig, you wouldn't get. Being more aggressive, etc. People will take it from. I mean, having said that, Jimmy Carr's persona is more aggressive, isn't it? But his heckle put downs pretty brutal, aren't they?
I don't know. I heckled him once, and he did come back with a heckle put down. Which I thought was quite good. Shall I tell you the story?
Go on, tell us it.
Malcolm Hardy, they did a sort of benefit gig, or not benefit, a sort of memorial gig for the death of Malcolm Hardy. Because, can't really call it a benefit when he's dead, can you? But
no.
So memorial gig for Malcolm Hardy at Hackney Empire, and at the upper levels of the theatre, it was all filled with Tunnel Club people and Up the Creek people, all the old hecklers. And then Jimmy Carr came on doing a bit of material off a clipboard, and that just sent them all doolally crazy. Plus the fact you could hear them going, "Malcolm never even liked the cunt. Malcolm hated him. Malcolm didn't even like him. What's he doing here?" And when he came on stage, there was a rush to the front of that tier.
Oh my God.
Of all the hecklers getting ready to take Jimmy Carr on. So, and there was plenty being thrown at him. And I just said to him, I shouted out, "Didn't I see you on one of those TV shows, one of those countdown shows, UK's 100 Biggest Twats," which got a really good laugh. Because I said it a lot succincter than that. And, but he came back, but wasn't your mum third? Which I thought was a good answer. It's a good answer.
That's pretty good, actually. Yeah. That's very good. Yeah.
But I was then told by one of the acts who was on that night that he was in tears afterwards.
Oh, God.
Jimmy Carr in tears through heckling.
Oh dear. There's a sad ending to the story. I once saw Joe Brand, and somebody was just being an arsehole, and heckling her, and he wouldn't shut up. And it was one of those ones where they were never going to stop, the effects of cocaine, etc. And she just did that. And I know some people have done this since, but she was quite famous then. She goes, he said something like, you'd be pissed. And she said, what was that? Sorry, what was that? And he leant forward. She just got the microphone, just went, and then the microphone, and then just carried on speaking. And the whole place just like exploded. And the guy was sort of like, he's just stunned. He just sat back in his seat like that, going, oh, and he shut the fuck up after that. But I mean, you couldn't get away. You can't. That's it was in the moment, as it were. But you couldn't get away with that for every heckler. Most of them are too far away to reach.
No, I have seen the act hit the heckler a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yes, it's never goes down well.
No. Well, it did in that. So what I'm saying is that on that occasion it did, because she was very, very famous at the time.
Banged on the head ain't so bad, is it?
Well, I mean, one method of doing that, I mean, we have mentioned Malcolm Hardy, but I have been present twice when he... Oh, God. This is awful. But there was a guy at the tunnel once who was really pissed, heckled. He was ruined the whole show, but, in shambolic style, it was never dealt with and thrown out. Anyway, he fell asleep in the front row. And Malcolm went, wake up, and they started poking him like this. The guy's just like, oh. So he just pissed on him.
Oh!
I know, I'm not condoning it. People, I'm not condoning it. But guess what?
What?
The crowd are going fucking mental, going, ah, the guy never woke up.
I can't believe that.
It's horrible. That's not the only time it happened. It happened at Jonglers once, in which he did it. In fact, didn't piss on the person, he pissed on the stage. And afterwards, the landlord of that pub, the original Jonglers in Battersea, what was it? The Coronet or Coronet or whatever, yeah. He came out and there was a massive fight. There was a massive fight in the hallway because he goes, nobody pisses on my stage. And after that, because Skin Video were part of that, we were banned from playing at Jonglers for, I think it was 12 years. But even though we had nothing to do, it's just like Malcolm Hardy. I don't know why he did it. To this day, I don't know why he did it. I think he was a bit bored.
I mean, there used to be an act called Ray Presto, very, very old magician from the north who used to tell jokes very, very slowly, and no one knew what his real name was. And because we sort of guessed in the end, he might have previous very unsavoury things he did in the past that meant he had to go under the name of Ray Presto.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, but what he used to do was he'd turn up at gigs and asked, can I go on? And people would say no because they'd seen him. He'd make one joke last about 7 or 8 minutes by telling it very, very slowly.
I like the sound of him already.
But he did. He got banned from the Comedy Store Gong Show because he would do the 5 minutes without actually getting to the punchline of the one joke that you started.
That's quite funny.
And he'd come on with this sign saying Ray Presto, holding this sign, and to Happy Days Are Here Again, dancing. And, and that would burn up at least a minute as the audience were going, oh my God, it's this old man in a suit. Happy days are here again. So, in the end, the Comedy Store banned him from having the music because they said it's cheating. You've got to go on there. Well then, he would, and the jokes were terrible. I do have the fast version of one of his jokes. One tanker carrying red paint crashed into another tanker carrying blue paint. All the sailors were marooned. And he would make that last 7 minutes.
Oh,
So he turns up for gigs. Yeah, on the off chance, can I come on stage and do 5 minutes? No, sorry, Ray, you can't. You can't. Sorry, we're booked up. And so then what he'd do is he'd sit in the front and he'd just pretend to be asleep. And when he'd pretend to be asleep, he'd let his false teeth just slightly slip out of his mouth.
Oh, God, no. Oh, no. Yeah.
And I've seen him do it, and of course, it is the greatest heckle. It just puts off acts false, because they'd be looking at him going, is he dead? Is he? He died.
I can't heckle him, he's dead.
Yeah, or they would go, I think he's dead, and start saying it to the audience. So eventually he becomes part of the show. He takes over the show by sitting there pretending to be asleep with his false teeth hanging out.
Yeah. It's no relation to Fade Presto as a different act.
No.
Right, okay.
No.
Yeah.
The Presto isn't really a name, I don't think.
No, I know. I just wondered whether it was a... No. What was his real name? Ronnie Cray. Oh, shit, no, I didn't mean that. If he might have had an unsaving. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it, about heckling is that you want... If it's done well, it's great. But most 99.9% of heckling is disruptive and done from not a great place.
Yeah, I wouldn't say perhaps 99. I might be a bit more generous and say
90.
75. I think 75 of it is malicious. A lot of the time, I think it is innocent. Sometimes it's over exuberance. It's too much alcohol.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, when someone sits in the front row and you can see them with glee in their eyes as soon as you walk on stage, you're thinking, oh my God, you've come specifically to take people down. Yeah, that's not nice. Also, remember in the days when stag groups, they used to get these books to tell them what to do on a stag night, because that's how stupid stags are. And one of the things that it would be ruin a comedy night. Yeah.
I met somebody on a stag do, and it was in Birmingham once. He said, "Oh yeah, we've all got the bingo cards, and if a comic mentions, mind you, this is a sad indictment in a way of comedy. They go, if someone says the word kebab, we go, way!" And they did, and they were fucking pain in the arse. But they were too big to throw out. There was about 25 of them. They didn't get dealt with at all. But they had them printed out with catchphrases and words that the comic says them. That is organised heckling.
Yeah, I mean, the bloke showed me, they had this little book, things to do on your stag night. That was in the book.
Well, where's that in the pantheon of things to do on a stag night? Ruin a comedy night, tie the groom to a lamppost, catch syphilis.
Yeah.
Tick, tick, tick.
Get a fake policewoman who's actually a stripper, all that stuff.
Incidentally, by the way, we're talking about heckles that are hard to do with. It's when you go to a place that's in either a local pub or they're sort of like their local community hub, and it's in a place that all the audience knows each other. And instead of directly heckling you, they just... I did a gig once in Banbury, and it was one of the most difficult gigs I've ever done, and all three acts just spent the whole night just dealing with, because everything you said, that's right, oh, Joe does that, don't you, Joe? Yes, I do. And it wasn't heckling as such, but fucking hell, it's so disruptive, isn't it?
I think when they heckle each other, because they know each other. Well, you did that last week, didn't you? Well, what about the time when you did that? Yeah. And all the audience, and you're just sitting there going, well, I'm sorry to interrupt this fantastic exchange. In fact, you're not. You try not to, because they're getting better laughs, taking the piss out of each other. You just got to let them do it, especially if they're laughing. How can you interrupt it?
No. But it's when it doesn't stop. It's the whole gig. Hey, by the way, I think, well, I've never mentioned this on before, but you know that story of one of the worst heckles I ever got, and it did destroy the gig, was I did the gig for Jeff Whiting in Farnham, Not a Borelli's, the other one. It was a wine bar as well, and there was an old guy in the audience, and he just kept saying it was like garlic bread. He just kept going, "Oh, Russell Brand's fucking dead." He must have said it about 25 times, and no one touched it. In the end, he got bodily thrown out by the bouncers. Right? He ruined the fucking. But the thing is, he stood outside the wine bar with his face, and you couldn't really hear him, but you could see him going, "Russell Brand's fucking dead." and then all the way through the act, people just looking at him out the window, and eventually a cab came, and he was just like into the cab, and he just went, and I just said to Jeff, "Is that? I can't believe what's just happened." He went, "Oh yeah, he does that all the time." I thought, well, just fucking ban him then. Don't let him into the gig. And and how ironic that his son turned out to be so nice.
So it was Russell Brand's dad?
He was Russell Brand's dad, yes. I'm not making it up. He goes, "Do you know who I am? I'm Russell Brand."
How the fuck would I know who you are? You're Russell Brand's dad. No one knows who you are.
And after about 5 minutes, I'm going, "Oh, well done, mate. Yeah. And then trying to move on, he just wouldn't shut up.
A bit egotistical, was he?
Yeah, and I think he might have taken some drugs as well.
And it wasn't his wife he was with.
But that is, oh, fuck me, yeah. If only he had shouted garlic bread, bloody hell. Fucking hell. It's hard to deal with heckles like that. Having said that, someone told me that they didn't speak for like 20 years. So, he's going on telling everybody he's his dad, and then on speaking terms.
I wonder if he does that now. I wonder if he's...
Yeah. Do you know who I am? I'm somebody's dad. Who is it? I can't tell you.
My son used to be on telly. That's all you need to know.
He's not on telly anymore. I can't tell you why.
Go on, have a guess who he is. I won't tell you, even if you get it right.
Yeah. I'll give you a clue. Take me to the Greek. Oh, shit.
Yeah, oh, no.
Oh, fuck me. Yeah, I mean, that's it. There is a nice thing with your... MCs have to deal with this a lot, don't they? If the crowd is restive, we're going to do another one about horribleness, as in the roughness of crowds. But if a crowd is restive and they are, it's part of the MC's thing to deal with it, isn't it? And it's a hard thing to do. Hard.
Yeah, but I still think there's a couple of rules that you shouldn't. There's no rules to any of this, right? Before let's go back on me just saying rules, because there's no rules in stand-up comedy whatsoever. For any rule, I might say there's loads of people who will prove me wrong by just totally doing the opposite, and it works for them. So, but one of the things I think, if you come on doing your set and someone starts giving it a bit of chirp, don't go early on having a go at them. No. Don't try and take them on. Try and ignore them for a bit for the first time. Keep going. Don't let them disrupt you. And then, if you do then decide to say something to them 3 or at least 7 or 8 minutes in, or 10 minutes in, and you finally go, "Okay, mate, what's going on here?" and you address them. By that point, the audience would have given you the credit of thinking, well, he's been interrupting a couple of times. You could see that he's tried to ignore it. You could see that he's trying to keep going. And by that point, they're actually going to join you if you do want to actually tell this person to shut the fuck up. They will they'll back you. If you don't do that and you go early and then you try and call the audience into your aid, go, well, come on, do you think we should chuck him out? Do you think he should shut up? They might go, no.
We want to hear what this guy's got to say.
Yeah, he's been funnier than you so far.
That's the problem, isn't it? And conversely, of course, if you leave it too long, I suppose it's that thing. Because we've all seen when acts plough on regardless and they don't address it, and then it becomes the elephant in the room. It just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah,
and worse.
you do have to address it at a certain point. You can't let it go because they'll just keep on coming at you.
Yeah, but you know that lots of hecklers always moan, don't they? Said, I'm just, I was only trying to help. It's a comedy club. Well, this is a true story that happened at the Glee Club in Birmingham, and it's Alistair, who's the guy that runs it. He's the very flamboyantly dressed general manager, and he's very, very witty. And this guy, big fat guy, had been heckling all night. He wouldn't shut up, and he'd been warned twice. And on the third time, Alistair went on and said, "Look, you've been told twice. Can you be quiet?" And the guy said, "Oh, I thought this was a comedy club. Why can't you heckle? It's all part of the thing." And apparently Alistair went, "Would you heckle at Glyndebourne?" And apparently the guy went, "What?" And he went, "Oh, fuck off." And then two massive bouncers just grabbed him and virtually threw him down the fucking stairs. His face was a bitch. He's like that. "You what?" Because we have talked about this. We did mention this in the last week, but it is the only art form where you're not encouraged to help it. I mean, you wouldn't. It doesn't happen at any other thing, does it?
No,
any other form of art.
Live performance, in any other form of live performance, you don't get heckling, do you? It's not expected or even tolerated. No, not in theatre. I'm trying to think of, definitely music, because hopefully you've got enough amplification to deal with it.
This is one of my favourite ever heckles at the Shepherd's Bush Empire. I went to see a country guy called Steve Earle, who's been married, I think, 3 times. And this is so fucking typical of where... Because he was doing that thing. I mean, I like him, but he does that thing in America. It's great to be here. It's great. Couldn't do without you guys. I've had a lot of turmoil in my life. I mean, he was a heroin addict. He went to prison. Blah 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 blah. But there's a brilliant bit where he's just rambling on between songs. Like British audience are going, "Oh, come on, mate. Fucking get on with it." And he just goes, "As you know, I recently got married." And there was a tiny pause, and someone from the audience just went, "What, again?" And about 600 people just fucking pissed themselves. And to give him his due, he goes, "Yeah, okay, I deserve that." Which is just fucking... What, again? So maybe we should have more heckling at rock gigs. I don't know, but
this is one from the new album. No. But I'm sure I've mentioned this before. But one of the first characters I did when I did stand up was a character called Adolf Heckler, which was.
Was he German by any chance?
Well, it was me who would be hair swept across.
Adolf Heckler. Very good.
And I had this sort of character, this little document called My Heckle Camp. And the whole joke was I was going to try and teach the audience how to heckle, as if we were at the Nuremberg rally.
Yeah.
And it was slightly too successful. That's what happened. I couldn't actually get through my set because they went, "Oh, okay, then we'll take you on then, Adolf."
Yeah.
And
you gave them permission, as in, I mean, that just quickly going, there's nothing more sort of daunting for, because there's so many different types of acts on it, but mainly if you're a material-led comic, and then there's the other looser comics who really sort of go in and just play with the audience. But if you're, if they did go too far, it's like that thing of, someone comes around and looks after your kids but excites them and then fucks off, and then you've left to deal with it. So sometimes you're waiting in the wings and the comic's really bouncing off. So the audience then think, right, this is it. And then the rest of the evening, they're just like that. And they're like little kids, aren't they?
Yeah, it's all about them. If you have an MC who's like that and stirs them up, followed by an opening act who's like that, then the rest of the evening is pretty well screwed, isn't it? It's just sort of, you're going to come in with, well, I'm going to tell you a few things about myself. No,
we don't care. We don't care.
It's about us. Don't you realise it's been about us all night?
I'm Russell Branstad.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. Oh,
I think that's a good way to end it with Russell Brand's dad.
And if by chance you're watching it, Russell Brand's dad, fuck you. Oh dear. Anyway.
Well, he's always been nice to me. That's why I expect you saying that.
Yeah, he came up to you once and went, did you realise that I'm Russell Brand's dad? Yeah.
He was much quieter when I met him.
That's right, yeah. I'm actually the father of. I don't know why I made him sound like the guy from Steptones.
No, please do.
I'm the father of Russell Brand. He is a dirty young man.
Oh, he's a dirty young man. He's dirty, filthy young man.
Oh God. Oh dear.
Harry H. Corbett as Russell Brand's dad. Who's going to play Russell Brand then? He's not going to be swap him over.
Oh, thank God! I can't be guilty. Jesus said it's all right. You know what I mean?
You never like me, don't you?
This is very niche, by the way, because a lot of people won't know who the fuck Steptoe Son is, but I don't care.
That is true. And we must think about this, actually, because of last episode we told you about, FeedSpot, and we are on a couple of their podcast lists. 22nd is the highest we're in.
22, baby.
And we were also told this week.
Oh, yeah. Good news.
That we're also on another Apple Podcast comedy charts. This one is in Spain. It's the comedy interview chart in Spain. We're number 34.
Woo! I mean, that is bizarre. It is bizarre. But hey, we'll take anything we can get.
We are one above Somos Los Pitchy Boys. Which is, and you can't really expect to be above them, can you?
No.
them pitchy boys, they're well known. But we're also ahead of Dana Carvey and David Spade, two famous North American comics.
Yeah,
we're ahead of them. I don't know who. I'm glad that we have people who listen to us in Spain. Should I say my only two Spanish phrases, which is vale, 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 which I quite like saying that one, and due grande. That's
two big ones, yeah. I wonder if the Spanish viewers at the moment go, ¿Dónde los Steptoe y su hijo? ¿Por qué? What is going on?
Due grande. That's what Alonso keeps saying that. I don't care. But thank you, our Spanish audience, for...
gracias.
Gracias. So we've reached the end of this particular podcast. So, for those sad people in Spain who now go, no, we have to wait another 2 weeks.
No.
And for the rest of you, yes. So got to the end. So I'm thinking to create more interaction and connection with our audience, what we should do is perhaps ask you to tell us what are your favourite heckles that you've either heard or even said.
Oh, yeah. You might have perpetrated a heckle yourself, haven't you? So
if you're watching this on YouTube, put it in the comments section. If you are listening to this, there's also, I think there's comment sections in a lot of the podcast places where you could download this thing. Put your comments there. We'll check them out. We'll probably mention them in the next show, or we might never mention them again. But just say anything. Tell us what you think about heckling, full stop. Get that interaction between us and the audience. Anything else we need to say? apart from follow, share, like,
Subscribe. And do you know what? For next time, we're probably going to have to learn the Spanish words for them.
What, for subscribe?
Yeah, subscribio.
Yes, I think it's bound to be something like that. Subscribio.
Me gusta, that means I like, so in Spanish. And what's the other one? Follow. Oh, I don't know that one.
Are we just losing our Spanish audience by saying all of this? Are we just...
Hey,
yeah.
But,
they liked
sorry.
us before, but now they're going, no.
Oh, God.
Yeah, if there's any Spanish comedians that you think we should talk to, people, our Spanish audience, get in contact with us, because obviously I won't be able to say a word to him apart from Duro Grande. But Gribbo here, Steve.
Ballet.
Yeah. Ballet. I mean, obviously, you're a linguist, aren't you? So
Yeah, I'm multilingual.
So we're quite happy to talk to the top Spanish comics.
Oh, Christ.
So, recommend them to us.
Yeah.
Good time to say goodbye then.
Yeah. Thank you for watching and listening.
Yes, indeed. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
They said you should have